the gentleman's agreement, and again, obviously what they had proposed over the email. My main question to you was there any other preliminary discussions that weren't involved in your text that you guys may have had discussing any type of commission or royalty splits? Like, was there any kind of other business discussions that were had, or were those that you provided kind of the only things that were given before the project went live?
So yeah, I mean, the only discussions that were had, and this will obviously reveal my ignorance in business handlings as an artist, but I had attempted to ask about, so what are we thinking about percentages, and was told TBD, like we'll talk about it later, we'll talk about it later. And there was never a discussion of like, what do you think is fair? And then kind of further discussions about that. It was simply just when they decided it was time, I was sent an email saying, this is what we think is fair. So there were absolutely no like open discussions. And when I had tried to have them, I was kind of told like, it's not time to talk about that right now. You'll get your chance to kind of, hear the offer later. And then that's when I got the email.
Oh, yeah, that's unfortunate because yeah, again, in a business, especially with what they had offered you initially, I was really hoping to at least maybe hear, especially hearing their spaces yesterday and how defensive they were and how open they were about, providing opportunity to you. It's just disappointing to hear that, when they presented that royalty split to you, that there was really actually no discussion about it, and they had already kind of seemed to have conversations behind closed doors without you involved. And again, I'm not trying to do anything to them, whatever works for them, but I definitely am supporting of you, dude, and your art, and just how this practice wasn't, it shouldn't have gone down this way. There should have been more discussion, more preliminary, at least conversations about what would happen, so that every person was on the same page. Because yeah, obviously now it's a pretty tricky situation. So all the hope and the best to you. And again, thank you to the Metaverse team for hosting this. And because again, I think the best is just being able to hear both sides and have open discussion. So thank you guys.
Denton, can I ask a question real quick? Just because one of the reasons for this space is for clarity. Just wanted to make sure. Last night when they were hosting their space with thousands of people listening, were you invited to speak? Did you request to speak, or were you omitted intentionally?
I don't know if it was intentional, but I mean, I was definitely blocked from the space. I could not join the space at all. So I had no ability to get into the space, let alone speak or anything.
Interesting.
I heard the space from someone's holding up their phone to a recording, I'm guessing their computer was playing the space. They had their phone up to it, so I heard it that way.
Got it. Okay, interesting, man. No, I definitely wanted to just bring some clarity there, so I appreciate that. Yeah. I also appreciate just you being up here, man. And to be honest, I appreciate that there was no doxed individuals on both sides of the story. Everybody's like taking ownership, and our intent is to allow the community and the audience to kind of come up to their own conclusions and opinions. And I do want to commend you, man, just for your professionality. I really appreciate that. So I'll let Quinn go ahead.
That was actually gonna be my question. I was gonna ask if you actually tried reaching out and tried to do this space together, because I know that was probably frustrating. And so yeah, that's quite a bummer, man. But appreciate you coming up here and speaking with everyone.
Of course, yeah.
Bitcoin, what's up?
Hey, yeah, that was gonna be one of my questions too. Did you reach out to them beforehand, as in contacted them number wise or anything before coming on Twitter and doing spaces and stuff? Because it looks a bit messy, honestly, and it's kind of why now? Weather Report has been out for weeks. Why is all this coming out now? I don't understand. Because so many people have been invested in Weather Report, so it's I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, why would I put my art out now, or what? I'm confused.
No, why is there spaces being made now about everything?
Oh, okay. I mean,
if Weather Report has been out for literal a month now,
Yeah. So the history of kind of what went down was that I was brought on to the project before it was announced. I was like the founding artist of the project. And then I was kicked from the project for trying to negotiate terms after my initial proposal was given to me. And that was like a week into launch. In my last conversation with them, I was told they never wanted to speak to me again. There were threats thrown. And then I kind of went my own way trying to figure out what to do next. And the space moves so quick that in that time, me trying to make my own art and figure out what I'm going to do, they had already, of course, amassed a bunch more followers and kept going. So, I mean, it's hard to move as fast as a team that size. My goal is, of course, to hopefully, put this out before people's actual hard-earned money was in the project. I know that they had used some tactics to like get whitelists for selling stuff. So, of course, people, are buying things already. But like, I would never want anyone to purchase art that I believe is, unethically being used and potentially even stolen. So of course, as soon as I could have tried to get up, I tried to, get my statement out there before things actually got even more messy.
Okay, yeah, because it's just getting to the point where people got to pick a side now. Denton or Weather Report, like people are like, oh, which fucking project are we minting if you look the exact same? Like, I just I somebody DM me saying that it had already came out in the beginning, which I seen that that you had mentioned it in the beginning, but it's like I was just confused as to why spaces are being made now and not then, like Twitter spaces and everything. It doesn't make sense.
I mean, yeah. So I do have legal counsel, and they were reaching out to them. We were trying to negotiate on the back end, and they kept pushing forward, trying to hit market, and they received cease and desist, and they had no intention to actually, make an agreement. So that's why I took the route of trying to put my story out there, because I feel like this is the only way to give people a chance to actually choose. Because like you're saying, it's us or them. Like, I know it's kind of an unfortunate situation to be in where you kind of have to pick a side, but without me putting out anything, it would just been them taking my work and moving forward. So this is kind of all I could do.
I think
Okay, yeah.
I think that was like one of the main questions I was hearing yesterday is like, because things were so close together of like their minting date is upcoming and all these things that were like starting to get close, and then the project that you dropped kind of I feel like from at least like my examined view is like a statement for yourself and really just like protecting your work, because like as an artist, like I don't know if I'd be able to sleep at night knowing like someone was making millions off my art, and then I was like quiet about it. So I'm guessing that's like more the perspective that you came from, of like, okay, I'm gonna drop this project, I'm gonna try and get up front and do something about it, and then let the people decide, because like at least like coming it from a non-biased view, like that's how I view it. And I'm just curious if that's like why you did what you did.
I mean,
So
yeah,
close.
I expected the cease and desist to do something. I expected there to be discussions professionally and like on the back end. Like, I didn't want to necessarily like have it go down this exact way. Like, I wanted things to be resolved amicably. That's why I tried to negotiate. There were so many attempts before this happened that it came to. And yeah, I mean, of course, like I'm trying to stand by my own art, and like I was blocked from their pages. I was blocked from. It was just, yeah. I mean, it was hard to even try to find an amicable solution from the jump. Like I mentioned, negotiations, being blocked, all that kind of stuff. So this was kind of a latch dis Hail Mary to see if I could even get my art out there under my own name, because up until this point it was under theirs. And I have at the time maybe 2,000 followers, and they're on a team with 70,000, and individually, dozens, tens of thousands. I had no voice, so it's hard for me to even take a stand. So the fact that the response is this big is miraculous, just because the community is able to see, I think, like the validity to my claims and get behind it so quick. And I'm sure it's frustrating for people who don't understand how things unfolded, especially if you join Weather Report so late, because of course, if you weren't there the first week, you didn't know I was even existing. So I'm coming out of nowhere. But yeah, I feel like this is kind of my best option.
Yeah, we still like want to hear everyone talking on the same stage together. Like that's so important, I feel, too, even to move forward. And so, like, I think as a community, everyone should be like pushing forward towards that. And like if anyone's listening that knows a Weather Report member, like please do invite them up. The whole team is supportive of that. And then like we just want to hear both sides. And yeah, Denton, thank you again for coming up here. I would love to have some of the other people that are up here starting to ask questions. I know we've got Bela, we've got Kruns, Alex. Yeah, let's just start.
Quinn, can I interrupt real quick? Just a favor for anybody who's asking questions. Obviously, this is sort of honor code, but if you do have a question, please, if there's any disclosures, like if you're whitelisted for Weather Report or Denton's project, or if you're a personal friend of anybody involved in this, just try disclosing that at the beginning. I think that would be really helpful for this conversation. But yeah, go ahead, Quinn, if you want to choose somebody else to ask a question.
Yeah, for sure. And then just a heads up, I am whitelisted for Denton's project. I might just give it to one of the community members though. I feel like that's the most appropriate way. Just like putting it out there. I should probably just write a tweet about it, to be honest. Yeah, this is more just for Denton and his opportunity to speak. But yeah, thanks for that, Roberto. And
yeah, beautiful. And just just for full disclosures as well, I'm not planning on. I won't mint either project. Sorry, Denton. Sorry, Weather Report. I just want to stay completely neutral here. As Quinn said, if Weather Report does want to come up, if that's all right with Denton, we'd obviously love to open the floor for them as well.
So this is my space. This is supposed to be a group space. So
love it, man. Love it. Appreciate that. And go ahead, Quinn, if you want to choose another question.
Yeah, let's have Bela speak, and then we'll go to Vera, and then Alex, and then Falcon. That'll be the order for now. But yeah.
Hey guys. Hey. Hey Denton. I just have a couple questions for you. You talk about how Weather Report is taking your work and moving forward, which I believe comes down to the base character. However, I would like some clarification on your project, seeing that, it's based on seasons and emotions. However, that is Weather Report's creative. That was their whole vision. So to me, it kind of looks like, it all came down to the base character, but you kind of ran with their whole project that they had been building, for a long time. So I'd like clarification on that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I hear you saying that they had built this project for a long time, that weather and emotion was their core concept. But like I said, when I joined the project, it was just Zach and Will. The project was called Storm Buddies at the time. They had built a logo for a hat brand called Weather Report, and it was designed for a clothing line, from what I remember. And there really wasn't this vision they're claiming, this grand vision, at least from what they told me. What I was told was they wanted orb-shaped heads and something that looked like Flamboyant Wet Willy, and that was the bulk of what they had described. So this claim that they're making about having this big grand vision with emotion, all this kind of stuff, really, at least from my memory, wasn't even really detailed out in any way. So I would say in response that because I was the founding artist, I was on the project before it was announced, I built all these characters and sketches, that all came out of me.
Now, so are you saying that you came up with the whole concept of seasons and emotions? Because again, from my understanding, that was their creative all along.
The concept for seasons and emotions, I mean, tying an NFT to weather was definitely part of their pitch to me. That's why we used themes of weather. Emotion was not. They want to do skate brands and they want to do streetwear, and I kind of transformed it into my vision. That's why it looks the way it looks. That's why the characters I'm making now are very true to a lot of the original drops, with like the crying faces and the sad stuff. That emotional side of it's very true to my art. So, I mean, that's what I would say.
Did you guys say creatively, though, you guys all came up, like with the emotional concept and stuff together? Because I just feel like, very much so from, seeing Weather Report and everything, that again, like to me, it looks a little hypocritical of the whole situation. And it seems like you have taken their idea and fully ran with it.
So I think that I took a vague idea, created the final vision, and then I'm continuing my vision for my project.
Got it. Thank you, Denton.
Yeah, of course.
If anyone wants to add to that, feel free. Yeah, full and open discussion.
Can I ask a quick question of Denton, which I think myself and I know a lot of people are interested in. Denton, do you pursue or plan to pursue any further litigation, or is this now just being sort of left up to the court of public opinion?
That's a good question. I don't know for sure what the future is going to unhold, but I definitely hope it does not come to that.
Got it. Appreciate the response.
Vera, how's it going?
Hey, thank you very much. Denton, for full disclosure, I know nothing about any background between the project or the artist, and I listened to both rooms yesterday in full. And I must say that there, to me, from an objective viewer, was a very distinct difference between the two rooms in terms of one being very defensive and dismissive when pressed with serious, questions for clarity. And what I didn't like was some of the character assassination without any, legitimate proof or, things that are concrete. And I really appreciated the space that was held for you, Denton. And I think that you carried yourself very professionally, sticking with the timeline and the facts and your viewpoint. And I think that was good to have those two rooms. I really didn't appreciate you not being allowed on stage to discuss, quote unquote, the truth. So I just wanted to let you know that I think, you presented your case and it is what it is and people can make their own judgment. But I think that you've laid out a good timeline. Now, what I want to get clarification is regarding the sharing of your work in the process. I know that, you guys never met physically. It was all over Zoom and via text. Did you share your artwork digitally with them so that they had actual files? And is that how? And then my second part of my question is regarding their decision to kind of drop the project to the world without any discussion with you or ironing out the or payment or anything like that.
I think I lost the last part of your question. Could you repeat that?
Oh, sure. I was wondering when they made the announcement and shared your artwork without really discussing it with you, kind of caught you by surprise, as you had said yesterday. That night when they said that they're going to drop the next day without hashing out any formal agreement with you. If you could, clarify that bit a little bit and how that all went down. I understand that they kind of put you off, for some time. I don't know when the TBD, how long that lasted before they gave you a take it or leave it deal. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So I definitely want to clarify something there. If it was ever unclear, I was definitely involved in the dropping of the project. I was involved from the point I joined the project, which would have been I wasn't officially joining it at this time, but I first met with Zach and Will. I want to say it was December 28th. We had our first meeting. And then when they dropped the art, what happened was I had showed them the finished samples that I created independently. And then they had brought them to a meeting with, I believe it was Toby, but I do not know for sure who was in the meeting because I wasn't invited to that founders meeting despite being offered to be a founder. And then I got a call while I was getting into bed saying, we're gonna drop the project. Let's create this GIF. Let's create some assets to put on our Twitter pages. And that's when I was involved in the dropping of the project. You can look at my feed and you can see some of those original tweets and stuff like that kind of confirmed that I was there at that time. It was definitely not, I wasn't kind of surprised in the sense that I wasn't included in the drop. I was definitely included. And to answer your other question about sharing files, I was sharing every file. I had shared all the drawings I had done. I'd shared several original files, a lot of the PNG files. Those are all coming from me. So the process of creating the art and then dropping it went, I create the art, I send it to Zach, and then Zach decides where to post it. And then I think most of them came to the main channel, to their channels. So there was definitely a lot of file shares that happened as well.
Thank you for the clarification. I think that this is a lesson for every artist in the room is, to protect your IP, because once you release that, it's out of your hands. So I guess this is a big lesson learned for you. I hope that they will meet you part way and you guys can, come to an amicable or at least a civil agreement in terms of your departure. I hate seeing this fissure, in this space, but it's really disappointing to see, some of the treatment of one another come out this way. So I wish you all the best in your project.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. And Dara, thank you very much for the question. I just want to reiterate, if anybody does have a question, would love if you have any disclosures, please provide. We're getting DMs that show very intimate connections to people on either side. We're not going to reveal who, but again, I think it would be worthwhile and definitely additive to the conversation if you do have a bias or an angle to please share. Go ahead, Quinn. I'm not sure who was next in line to ask a question.
No, I would love to hear Jet. What's up, man? How you doing?
What up, y'all? No, I don't have a question, nor have I picked a side. I mean, ultimately, I don't have any money involved, so really, it's not up to me to pick. But I just wanted to shout you out, Denton. I listened to you yesterday, and here you are again today, and just got a lot of respect for you. And this, it's my understanding that this is your first experience into the NFT space, into the Twitter space, and the fact that you're still here, you didn't let this ruin you, and I could see how a lot of other people would have just said, fuck it, and just, left NFTs, left Twitter. But my message to you is you just keep going. I'm glad that you're sticking around, and unfortunately, your first experience in the space is a negative one. But to see all these people, rally and come together for you, that speaks volumes to you and who you are as a person, as an artist. But major respect for sticking around, because unfortunately this situation is what it is, but I got all the faith. If you keep showing up, keep doing your thing, keep sharing your art, all that negative is going to be erased pretty quickly, and it's all going to come back to you tenfold. So just big ups to you, man, for sticking around and not letting this ruin NFTs for you. So just wanted to say that, bro. Respect. Looking forward to getting to know you more and seeing your art, regardless of if it's this project or something else. So I just wanted to say that. And shout out to the Metaverse, as always, for doing something like this and just being for us, standing with us and just being there for the culture, for the space. So appreciate y'all.
Thank you. I do want to add one thing on that, just to kind of make it clear that I did consider leaving the space entirely. Like when I got removed from the project, like because I was so new to the space, it was easy to go, okay, I'll just get back to my regular life. Kind of back to my other goals and aspirations, make different art. Like this is my only thing I can make. But it wasn't until I got a bunch of DMs from people encouraging me to stay here and please don't go away, please release your art, and people in the industry that I didn't know were like knowledgeable about the space, telling me about how this has happened before and this isn't new. And it was the community kind of reaching out and offering an olive branch of please stick around, that encouraged me to kind of stand strong and really stick here. And I'm definitely happy to still be here.
No, I'm glad to hear that. Like I said, I'm sure 90% of people, if something like this happened to them on their first ever experience in the space, I'm sure they would have disappeared and had said fuck it and not come back. So shout out to everyone that hit you up and DM'd you and showed up in your space last night, because there is a lot of bullshit that happens in the space almost every week, it seems like. But even more important than that is the good shit, and that's this right here. That's a community coming to your side, and just like I said, not picking sides, but just people reaching out to you. And I'm pretty sure that once you really put some stuff out there and just spend more time in the space, this will be forgotten about. It won't be remembered as a negative or a positive. It'll just you'll move on from it, be better. All sides will be better. We'll all learn from it, even the people that aren't involved. So again, major respect to you for sticking around. Already that there alone just it gives me major respect for you, and excited to see what you do. So shout out to you, man.
For sure. Yeah, and I do just want to make sure that it's clear too. Is it's not just about the community reaching out to me personally. It's also about this being assigned to the artists at large. That this can be a big thing for a lot of people, and that motivation of thinking this is more than just about me is part of why I was able to kind of take a stand. Like I said before, like a project with 70,000 followers and me being of nobody. It's easy to just kind of go, well, this is my personal beef. I'm just going to kind of stand down. But the idea of me being, I guess, an example for other people is, I know it's a lot to kind of think about, but it does mean that like this can actually, even if I fail big time at this, somebody else can look at that in the future and think, well, maybe there's a nugget of truth to take from there for my future. So I don't know, even if I crash and burn on this, somebody else might be able to rise up. So I don't know.
No, and this will be the last thing I say. Then I'll hop down as a listener. But you didn't fail, bro. You didn't fail. We all. It's just a lesson, right? You'll learn from it. You'll grow from it. You'll be better because of it. Both sides, I think, will, and everyone involved just listening, watching from afar. But no, don't ever think for 1 second that you failed, because we didn't know you 2 months ago, and now you got a lot of people looking forward to seeing more of your art. So this is not
Thank
a
you.
failure one whatsoever.
Thank you, man.
Uncle Joe, man, really appreciate the question. I share a lot of your sentiments. I think Alex was next to answer, or Quinn, was it? Sorry if I'm going out of order. I wasn't paying attention. I
Yeah,
believe Alex was next in line.
Alex, and then again, Alex, like disclose if you have any connection to either side. I don't think you do, but just because you're a metaverse family, in case for anyone listening. But yeah, we'll go Alex and then Sticky and then Mads. But man, would love to hear your thoughts, and yeah, again, just let us know if you have a bias or yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I might get rugged a little bit by my internet connection. So just let me know if I cut out, I can dip. But I think I don't really have a huge bias here because I'm not financially invested in either project. I'm just more sort of intrigued with seeing how this space develops because it's so new and seeing these interactions. And for me, this whole time, I've kind of been thinking it's, as with any real conflict, I think you're looking at a situation where there's probably a bit of truth on both sides. Both people feel like, both teams feel like they have the more valid claim. But you know what? I think it's tough because we always look for, I mean, especially something like this when you have two projects and people pin it as like you have to choose one or the other. Do you support the artist? Do you support the team? It's just a lot of division. And I think we kind of lose sight of the fact that this is such a fast growing space that for me, people just can kind of get a little caught up in the pace of it. And so I know some people yesterday and today were saying we're so close to mint. This project's been around for a while. But frankly, when you're talking in terms of traditional businesses or projects, something like a month for an entire creative vision to come together, amass thousands of followers, and prepare to make millions of dollars right off the bat, off what I will say, even as an NFT enthusiast, are frankly JPEGs. I mean, we're talking millions of dollars at stake, thousands of people investing, thousands of people interested in sort of getting to know these projects. We could just kind of get a little lost in the scope. And that's something that stuck out to me yesterday that sort of pushed me a little bit, I will admit, towards Denton's side. Because the team was mentioning things like, well, we're not just a project, we're a brand. They said no project has ever tried to create a brand like this. You look at brands like Nike, Coca-Cola, they're more than just their image. But then I was thinking to myself, I mean, with all due respect to every member of the team, and WeatherReport, I think, does have the makings of a great project. As of right now, this is not a global brand. This is a profile picture project based on the art. And it's fine. I love that they have lofty visions of what it can be. I love the ideas of merch. I love the ideas of an instantly recognizable art style. I think they had great ideas to begin with. I do think that. I think Denton had a great artistic expression of bringing that to life. I think it's unfortunate that there was this sort of rift that developed. But in my opinion, it doesn't necessarily have to be something where both sides tear each other down. And obviously, it's easy to come in and try to walk the middle line. But for me, I'm looking at a project that I'm sure those founders, I don't think they're bad people. I think this is a new thing for everyone. I think they came in, they had a vision, and maybe they didn't like the idea of not having full artistic control of that vision, which is fine. I think they'll learn for the future that they need to be very clear with their terms with an artist. And I think that issue for me, the accountability there is a little more with the team, in terms of, if you're the one putting forth this vision and you're going to take 50% of the profits for the two co-founders, and you're going to say we want to retain ownership of this entire thing, I think it's sort of on you to lay out those terms in the beginning. With that said, Denton, I fully agree. As you have admitted yourself, I think you can learn from this. Artists can learn from this. That you've just got to be upfront. But yeah, I've listened to both sides, and I think I'm glad things have turned in a slightly more constructive direction, because I think, Denton, you have some great art. You're bringing great things to the table. I do think they had a good vision. I think, frankly, it would be lovely if you two were still working together, because you had a great artistic way to fulfill their vision. But I think everyone's learning. So, I mean, props to you for coming up and just coming out and sticking with it. And I will say, as much as I may have been sort of poking fun at a few of the other things the team said yesterday, I think they were a little defensive, as people have mentioned. I'm sure they didn't really look forward to getting in front of thousands of angry people and getting questions thrown at them saying, is your project a rug? Why are you abusing artists in the space? I think it's just something where we all have to learn from this, because this is so new. We can lose sight and we say these are some these are great global brands. We have these great visions, but let's be honest, all of us here, we're playing with JPEGs. We're trading art at its fundamentals. This is art. And I think it's just something we got to keep a little perspective here. These are not massive, globally renowned brands yet. This is still a pretty niche thing, and I think we all just have to keep that sort of perspective. But yeah, props to everyone involved. I won't go on any longer, but thank you for everything you've done. And I've followed your account. I've entered a little giveaway and whatnot. I'll probably mint either project, but just appreciate both sides for trying to sort of work through this, and I hope everyone learns from it.
That was incredible, man. I thank you so much for that. I felt very unbiased. I don't know everyone else feels about it, but I felt like that was a really well thought out, educated take on it. It wasn't really super my favor, super their favor, just very genuine take on situation. I do want to make it very clear. This kind of goes without saying, but my statement obviously implies a level of emotional response, but I have at no point said pick a side. I do want this to be an open forum so people can choose. And at no point am I trying to make it about don't pick them, pick me. But again, I think it kind of just is the inevitable outcome of the situation where I make a very, very, very divisive claim that the art's mine. It kind of leads down that road. But that was never my goal, was to have this be what unfolded. It's just kind of an outcome that has taken place. I don't know.
Can I tap in?
Go for it.
What's up, Denton? How you doing?
Pretty good. How about you, man?
I'm solid, thank you. I wanted to ask 3 questions, and I'm not associated, I'm not affiliated, and highly unaware. I've seen the art for a cool minute, but that's that. Even with the problems in between you and them going on, are you still gonna get paid for whatever? Do you still own a percentage or whatever?
No, as far as I'm aware, I have no stake in the company, brand, whatever it's called, and I have no access to any revenue from the company if they move forward. They offered me a $5,000 settlement after I sent a cease and desist, which was even less than the initial potential minimum. So at this point, from what I'm aware, they have zero intention to give me anything for the project, and not that I would even ask for that.
That is crazy. Second question. In the beginning, were there any drawings at all besides yours? Was it just vibes, and then you just started drawing?
There was industry references. So they sent me Flame Boy and Wet Willy decks. There was I think 3 or 4.
But there was no actual original drawings.
There was 0 drawings from them. No.
Wow. All right. Those answers are so drawing, I low-key almost forgot my third question. Oh my God. All right. So question number 3. Have they fired back at you at all for starting your project with your own art at this point and then offering you a 360 deal style percentage and then nothing?
I'm not sure the question. Can you please repeat it?
Have they fired back at you like a cease and desist?
Yeah, my lawyer received the statement. I don't want to go into the details on what they had said because I think it was sent out in an emotional response first thing in the morning. Like it came out, I think my lawyer sent it to me maybe 2 or 3 hours after I sent the statement out. And then, of course, they put out a statement since then that kind of is in contradiction to that initial email to my lawyer. So I would imagine they maybe have changed their opinion on that first email. So I didn't want to get into the weeds on that. But it wasn't necessarily a constructive first email, but the tone has shifted. So I would say that whatever clapback they might have put out, they may have changed their tune. So hopefully things are constructive going forward from there.
Okay. Well, shout out to you, bro. You're a really resilient fella. And I think what we're looking at here, dude, is just like another classic case of people putting business over art, using art and artists, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like secondarily. I don't want to say that as a stamp down my foot on they're bad people or whatever it is, but it's like I'm not a snowflake, dude. I am. They were offering you 5% of something that you helped create, even if you're not doing any marketing, branding, or anything like that. You literally made the product. Wait, that was actually my third question. Did you do the coloring as well?
Yes, yeah. So I did all the coloring, of course, when like there's a level of superiority and they kind of have to co-sign on things. When I finish things, they of course would then say maybe change that color. But yeah, no, I did all of the coloring, and then they maybe had asked like I want different background color or something like that. But I did all the coloring from sketches to final samples, and they would put in some input at the end to make sure it fit more in their vision. But that was minimal input at all.
All right. Well, yo, shout out to you, bro. You're mad resilient. I think this is kind of like it goes to like a. This sucks, bro. This is like there's something to say about like business and marketing and like being able to sell a product,
For sure.
but like and like that deserves like a large portion. If you're selling most of the product, then you probably should receive most of the. I wouldn't even say that's kind of like arguable, but yeah, man, like you deserved way more. Even if things went all well, you deserve way more, and I hope that you get way more doing things by yourself. God bless you.
Thank you so much, man.
I have a question if I'm allowed to speak real quick.
For sure. Go for it, Alan.
Hey, what's up, guys? So I've kind of like a similar situation to Denton. First off, want to shout you out for, being up here as an artist myself. I know it's hard to kind of get questions that you might not know how to answer right off the bat. I feel for that. So first shout out to you. But I do have a question. So like for me, for my project, when I was first starting, I realized that I wasn't maybe at the capacity to execute on an illustration a certain level that I wanted. So I sought out an artist that I knew could execute on that vision. And so for my situation, like I reached out to this artist and said, "Hey, I have this idea. This is the drawing." I gave him an initial drawing, but I said, "I love your art style. Can you make this better? And I'll pay and everything." And so he ended up agreeing. I paid him for creating what this little character I have right now. So I paid for it and all, and then pretty much just went on my way. I guess I'm it's so the thing is like it's his art style, but it was my character. I paid for it. Did when you started, did they pay you for the design and then they started to do it, or is it just like was it already a character that you had illustrated and then they wanted to piggyback off that? I just wanted a little bit of clarification on that.
For sure, yeah. So there were no drawings at first. So I did all of the drawings. I was never paid for anything. So I never received any money for any of my art to date. Um, and then I created all of the drawings from the point of talking to them. So they had given me like a very general idea with World Industries references. And out of that came what I created. So that's, my answer to that.
I see, and then it's kind of well, the obvious. I think that's kind of a tough situation to be in for one, but it's kind of like hard to even. I don't have any affiliates with anything. I'm a big fan of the art itself. I saw it, and I've done a couple videos on my TikTok on it because I appreciate the art. Well, I mean, just off the bat, from you not getting at least any sort of compensation, that is pretty a big dickhead move. So I honestly, I would kind of feel salty if I was you, because like at least in my situation, I paid for my art. So I just wanted to get that clarification. So thank you for answering that.
You're welcome.
And then we'll go to Mads. And so I do want to add again, if you have any relationships with the projects or have a certain bias, like please disclose that. before. I just wanted to like re-emphasize that. But Mads, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you so much to the host for allowing me on stage. Hi, everyone. My name's Mads. I'm an NFT creator, and separate from that, I'm employed at a Web3 startup where I have worked closely with artists, and I have no bags in either project. As to this situation, I became aware of it yesterday, and I read the documents that Denton shared, which Denton, by the way, I think you did a wonderful job on them. I thought it was very well organized and very well presented, and you continue to comport yourself exceptionally in this situation. So essentially, I mean, I don't know if that means much coming from me, but I did want to say kudos because I think the way you've handled yourself is exceptional. So there were a couple issues that I wanted to address and clarify. I'm sorry, I've never spoken on a stage this large before, so my voice might be a little shaky. So to start with, I guess the first thing I want to get out of the way, with all due respect to speakers that have come before me, Denton, sorry, are you in the U.S.?
I am, yes.
And the founders, are they in the U.S.? Is it a U.S.-based business?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So yes, with all due respect to speakers that have come before me, I do not believe that Denton should be questioned on or have to defend his decision to use the concept of emotions or weather, what have you, in his own project, because according to the Copyright Act, you cannot copyright an idea. You can, however, copyright something tangible, such as a piece of art. So I don't believe that's relevant to bring into the discussion and to cast any doubt on the artist Denton's new project, because those are such broad concepts that you actually cannot copyright them. I guess I should disclose that I'm not a lawyer, if that's not very obvious, but that information is readily accessible to anyone who cares to look it up in the Copyright Act. So I heard a reference to that, and it didn't sit right with me, so I did really want to address that. So I won't pretend to have a complete understanding of contract law at all, but I do understand some basics based on my own work. So for instance, I have an employer that I signed an employment contract with, and in that contract, I assert that if I create an asset for the company while under their employ, it belongs to them, and I am not entitled to any additional credit or compensation for that asset or any way they choose to use it. But that's part of my agreement, and I entered that agreement knowingly and willingly. So for me, I don't mean to sound condescending at all, but I am a little baffled as to how this has progressed to the level it has, because to me this seems to start and stop with the presence or absence of a signed contract reflecting whether or not Denton was under their employ when he created the character. Because as much as people want to turn this into seemingly a victim blaming situation, I know that sounds like harsh language I'm using, but that is the vibe I'm getting, a victim blaming situation, saying artists need to have their agreement figured out beforehand. I would say the onus is on the founders of the project if they had a concept that they wanted to turn into a tangible, copyrightable item, that the onus was on them to protect that under an agreement from the outset. Because Denton, from what the documents show and from what I've heard, did not enter into a written agreement with them that can be proven to show that he created the art while under their employ. And so unless there's any evidence to the contrary, I don't understand exactly how this has risen to an issue where people are even questioning who the art belongs to.
Thank you. Not really much of a question there, but I do appreciate your first point about you kind of give me some props for how I'm handling myself. It's definitely nerve-wracking and my heart's beating like crazy, and I'm not used to any of this stuff, so I'm just constantly nervous that I'm going to fall on my face. But I do agree with you. That's what advice I got when I went to negotiate with them. I had first seek legal counsel, and they made it very clear, like, yeah, it's pretty much cut and dry. You haven't signed anything. There's no contract, so it's clearly your work. That's why I went to negotiate, because I felt like, oh, okay, like I have something to negotiate with. And then I was immediately kicked from the project, and there was some big shock on my legal counsel's side, because it didn't seem like that's something how a business would handle that situation, because of course there is reason to think that negotiations are wise at that time, given how the situation unfolded. But again, I did try to seek an amicable solution before things fell apart. That was definitely the goal before being kicked.
Yeah, and I could tell also from your documents and from what you described that you did attempt to actually have a conversation, and that those negotiations essentially broke down. Anyways, so I don't want to take up too much time on stage, but the one other thing that was bothering me a little bit that I haven't seen addressed by the founders, and this could be a moot point because obviously they're not in here, which I see as I'm not going to say anything about their project. But what I will say is I have spent the last week for a work assignment essentially frying my brain reading through terms and conditions of various NFT market platforms. And I understand that OpenSea reserves the right to take down any content on the basis of a DMCA complaint. So referring to if a DMCA copyright complaint is lodged against a piece of art or a project. And my understanding is that the founders still intend to release this project. But it would seem to me that if Denton were to pursue legal action, and I will say that I fully support all artists in protecting their creative works to the fullest extent of the law and their abilities, it would seem to me that every bag holder, if you will, in that project could get wrecked by an immediate DMCA takedown. And that's the only other thing I wanted to say. Thank you very much for letting me speak. I'll drop down and let someone else come up. So thank you very much for letting me speak. And Denton, best of luck to you. Thank you very much to the hosts and everyone in this room.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I know. I'm sorry. I know you said you're not a lawyer, Mads, but if your career happens to go south, I think you always have a position as a lawyer. You're incredibly articulate and very smart. So that was super insightful. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I was about to say for your first or not speaking on many stages, you did amazing, and just so well spoken, and thank you for coming up and sharing your thoughts. Like Roberto said, I think you have a good career ahead if whatever you're doing now doesn't work out, right? So yeah, great job.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
Just a heads up, guys. Like I said, I'm on a lunch break. It's an hour break. We're at an hour now. I'm happy to answer some more questions, but I'm going to have to go relatively soon. So I just wanted to say, if you have more questions, try to keep them short so we can try to get some more in before I do have to bounce out.
Let's go with Firestarter and Trevor.
Hey guys, full disclosure, not whitelisted for either project, and just want to say, I'm sorry to everyone that this happened. It seems like it sucks for both sides. I listened to their space yesterday, and obviously very curious and to hear more. I guess my thought is this, and I'm curious if you could talk more about it. Both sides basically seem to be asserting, definitively from a legal stance that, we're legally in the right. And, they seem to allude something yesterday. Well, our lawyer told us we would, cleanly win this case. And it sounds like you're asserting the same. I guess my question is that if you guys both confidently feel that way, what is the benefit of bringing it to light publicly? Because the truth is the truth. And if you're going to win or they're going to win, then just sort of let that happen. And so just curious to learn more about the decision to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak to myself and the advice that I've gotten from legal counsel that I have. And yeah, I've been given pretty definitive advice. I think that Mag said it on the head on the advice that I got, was that without a contract, without anything, that the work I created is mine. And that's why I sought to, find resolutions. That's why we tried to resolve things through lawyers. And I think maybe because there was such a belief in a hard line in the sand, that there was no resolution sought. And it's come to this out of kind of the effect of that, of not having the ability to kind of see middle ground, because I was advised that I have almost full 100% irrefutable ownership of the art that I've created, and therefore it's in their best interest to work with me. And then when they refuse to do that, probably because of the reasons you're saying, things have kind of devolved or evolved into the situation we have now.
Thanks for answering, man.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and thank you, Denton, for seriously, like, again, taking the time and working your 9 to 5 as you do. I think everyone here can appreciate you coming up here and really speaking your mind. So I did want to acknowledge that because, I mean, it's going to get busier and busier for you, and just being up here with us means a lot. And so, I do want to go on to the next. Did I say Trevor? I think, and yeah, again, Trevor, if you have any bias or affiliation with either project, like, please do disclose that before speaking. And yeah, I'll pass the torch on to you. I don't know how much time you have left, Denton, but what do you think, like 10, 15 minutes ish around?
Yeah, sure, that's fine. Maybe go to like 3:20ish. That gives maybe enough time for
Perfect. Right on. That works great. And then, yeah, I do want to take full responsibility for not clicking record on the spaces. I didn't know that you couldn't do it midway through, and so yeah, it's not like for any particular reason I would have recorded it. I think that one of our mods is on it right now. But yeah, I think if we want to host another one of these, Metaverse is totally open too. But yeah, Trevor, on to you.
Hey, yeah, I appreciate it. I've gotten rugged a few times as a speaker, so I appreciate you guys having me back up. I guess needless to say, I'm really sorry you're going through this, Denton. I was pulled into even interest of the project because of the artwork. I think it's really dope. And us as artists, we look to come to this space, like me as a photographer, because we get dicked around by brands so much, and we're just over that. And keyword brands, so it hurts me to know that you were not pulled, but you were invited into this space via a brand, and then you were kind of shitted on. And I'm just really sorry about that. One thing I would like to acknowledge, though, just because I listened to both spaces yesterday, and I'm very aware of like the influence of the artwork, and something I would like to advise you guys is just be careful when mentioning World Industry so much and Flameboy and Wet Willie, just because of my skateboarding background, and I'm somewhat of like a skateboarding historian. I do know that Steve Rocco is a very money hungry, lawsuit horny ass guy in the skateboarding industry, probably the most out of all. So I would just advise you guys to be careful when mentioning that stuff, because I mean, looking at it, I can kind of see the influence, even though I'm sure if that went to court, it would uphold. But yeah, I don't know. I heard Zach and Will throwing that around a ton, and I was actually glad to hear you not mentioning it in the space yesterday. I heard you mention it one time, but I've heard it mentioned a few times today. So yeah, I just want you guys to be careful with that. I'm definitely riding with you, Dan. I love your work, and I look forward to see what you do in your position in the space in the future.
Thanks, man. I mean, just to kind of touch on that, I guess, a little bit and not, I guess, reference them too much more. That was only brought to me from their like initial suggestions for what to look at. But personally, I don't like to make things that are based on other things. I base it off myself, my emotions, my feelings. So I would say that my art, well, although it maybe was one of the first items I was told to look at, I looked at it very, very, very little. I mean, aside from those initial like pictures they sent me, I looked from within. This art looks like things I've done in the past. My art is very true to who I am as a person. I have friends who, when they were cued into this story, were instantly thinking this is clearly my style. I know it's not very public, my art before, but I've been doing it for a long time. So my close friends and family have seen what I've done, and they know that this is very true to who I am as a person. So.
Epic, man. And I'll once again pass it on to Chase, and then go Con. And then again, if you have any affiliation with either project, please disclose that before speaking, or any particular bias as well. Yeah, Chase, on to you, man.
Hey everybody, thanks for pulling me up here. I just had a couple questions. Just to be transparent, I was initially brought into WeatherReport because of the art, right? I saw it just like everybody else, absolutely loved it. It was unfortunate to see all of this news this past, day or so. And then, just sifting through both sides, just trying to really figure out, where my personal position is and, kind of like, my feelings towards this whole situation. I just had a couple questions for you, Den. So thank you for taking the time to, answer all of these for us. I apologize if these questions have been asked already. I kind of joined the space a little bit late, but, again, thank you for pulling me up here so I could, just ask these couple things. So the first question I had for you was the whole weather, seasonal, emotional kind of thematic that is, strong through both projects. was that more so their concept that you kind of ran with, or was that something that you kind of brought to the table?
So I think, as Mag said before, just to kind of piggyback off this topic that was already discussed, is that, I mean, claiming the concept of weather it's such a broad concept, you can't really claim that as yours. But the emotional side of things is coming from me. Like, I mean, I'm pouring myself into my art, my emotions into my art, and tying those two things together is me. Like the broken heart clouds, like all these things, all these traits. Those are like I created all of them. I don't know what to say. Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
no. Yeah,
yeah,
I was just asking. So,
appreciate it.
no, it's good to know about that. And then, the one thing that stood out in like their statement that they released that I didn't hear anybody really touch on yet. I apologize again. I joined late if it was that in their thing they mentioned that you guys agreed to terms at one point. And I just wanted to see if like that held any truth, or if it was really just you guys were in the negotiation phase and nothing was actually agreed on ever.
Yeah, this was addressed earlier, but I'm happy to answer it again. So their claims, from my perspective, I can only speak from my perspective, are not founded on facts. I mean, they gave me a proposal for being a founder on the project after I created the art independently that they wanted to use in their project. That proposal was then completely different from the proposal that was given to me in the statement that I put out, the email they sent me, where it was 5%, and that understanding of the difference was identifiable when I had pushed back on 5% not being enough for me to quit my job and
Mm-hmm.
bank everything on the project because I have a family, I have a house. Like it's a big deal for me to make
Of
that
course.
jump. And they had said if the workload's too much, we can always hire another illustrator and cut your equity in half, which to me meant that I was not being given founding status. I was being given illustrator status, which is not what I agreed to when they had initially offered me that. So that was all, again,
Got it.
all of it's gentleman's understanding. There is no official contracts. Nothing was ever signed. So, I mean, yeah, there was never any kind of like formal agreements, but there was, of course, just a bunch of hearsay about gentlemen's agreements, I guess.
Got it. Okay, cool. No, thank you for answering those and taking the time. I know you're very busy, with everything that you got going on now. Love your work, man, and keep doing you, man. You're doing great.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for coming up, Chase. And then I got one for Roberto because I know you have a question. But
yeah, Denton, real quick because I have to go. But by the way, man, I appreciate you coming up here with us. This has been incredible, and I know your time is limited. And if you want to continue this, Quinn and I would be happy to do it at your convenience. Just quick question because I thought this was important to the equation, and only if you're able to disclose. But when you came back at them and you said, which I agree with you, I think 5% is way too low. Did you have a number or a situation or scenario in mind that you presented to them that they then declined, or was it just a broad kind of like idea?
Yeah, I mean, so of course I know what I see my value as, but I know that might not be what they're going to like agree with. So I had kind of a range of things that I might ask for, and maybe we can find somewhere in the middle, like the typical negotiation tactic of like I'm going to try to say this, and they might fall here somewhere. But it never got to that point. Whenever I brought up negotiations, I was immediately stopped with you have enough already kind of stuff. And then when I really put my foot down and sent that email that I referenced, where I kind of said I don't accept this offer, I want to negotiate. The call that we had never got to that point. It was an opening discussion of me saying, I want to move forward. This is a great project. Let's find an agreement. And then me giving them the floor, and it immediately turning into, how dare you even claim to own this art? And then taking off the project pretty much immediately. There was a long call about just arguing over who owns the art, and then it ended right there. I never once even got the chance to propose my feeling of like, I think this percent's fair. It never even hit that point. It was an instant, you're off the project.
Got it, man. No, I just wanted to clarify in case that you did come back to them and said, hey, I want 50% or 75% or something. So I appreciate your transparency there. And thank you, Denton. Thank you, Quinn. Look forward to the next questions. Appreciate it.
See you, homie. Yeah, Denton, on the note of that, like I think there was just like so many other factors. Like you have your work and play and just asking for a higher percentage because you weren't getting paid up front. Like that's another addition to the equation. So yeah, man, appreciate you speaking out on that, and I'll pass it on to Khan, and then we'll kind of just like wrap it up in a second. And again, if there's any bias or affiliation with either project, like please do.
I just got some advice for Denton before he leaves.
Happy to hear it. Yeah, please. Could you use any advice right now?
Okay, well, I'll let Ken speak or Ken.
No, go for it, man. Just go for it. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard the story, buddy. My wife's a letters holder. She got whitelisted for the weather report. But I've been in litigation for like 7 years myself, and I know what it's like. It's a hassle. I'm like $2.5 million in lawyer bills for a $3.5 million case. That at the end, these guys have made off of business I started them. They've made over $100 million, and I asked for $3.5 million to start, and that's not even be close to what the company's worth. Like I undercut myself. So what I'm getting at for you, my man, is in your situation, you're going to be spending a lot of money on lawyers and litigation, and so are they. It's 7 years is the longest you're going to keep it tangled in court, and by God, each of your lawyers and their lawyers will keep it for 7 years. So you're looking at that ahead of you. Now, my question to you is, like, if they came to you and they said, okay, we're going to give you 10% royalties and put your name on the contract, would that be something you would say, for sure, give me 10% of all secondary sales, and I'm happy with that? Then you get to maybe make a good business arrangement with them because they seem like they're good marketers. They could market your product, and you could coattail off where you get 100% royalties on your next project. And you're going to get 10% of a $2 million project, but you're going to start another $2 million project, and you're going to get 100% of it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally hear you, man. I mean, it's hard to give an answer if that would be acceptable because I haven't even talked to them since our last conversation, so I don't know where they stand. So there's so much.
That's right. I see where I was going to
but I know what you mean about like it's in your best interest to find a solution and not go down litigation. Like, of course, 1,000% agree with you on that. I do not want this to end up in a situation where, lawsuits are thrown out, litigations are thrown out. Like, I don't know what the answer is. I know there's lots of derivatives in the space. I mean, it's kind of questionable as far as legality that goes anyway, but I mean, it's not like the space is unheard of.
It speaks a lot to their party that they're not up here saying anything, and it speaks a lot for you that you're up here as calmly as you are. All I'm saying is, if someone can get a hold of these guys and maybe make a contract, forward it to you, maybe you accept it, and you can hash things out. But other than that, I feel for you, buddy. You got a long road ahead of you, and my all the best. I wish all the best to you.
Yeah, Denton, I applaud you for being so calm, and I know that like a lot of your future plans with your project are to support other artists. Can't even speak today. This is like the real Quinn, in case you're wondering. To support other artists and actually lift them up and help them get through scenarios like this. And so, yeah, I think that's amazing, and I know Suture's up here, and he's a Metaverse Discord member, so I'd love him to kind of speak his mind, and yeah, we can get rolling with some more. I can't even speak today. See, I'm nervous, and I don't even like have a big scenario going on. I'm just.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to come up here. It's not really. I mean, I do have a question, but more so, I just wanted to empathize with you, Denton, on everything that you're going through. Full transparency. Like, I run my own business, and I've had a falling out with partners and everything like that, to where there was an implied partnership, and have gone through the legality, lawyers back and forth. And it's just a really tumultuous time in your life. Like, you don't have any animosity for these people, yet your instincts are kind of like guiding you towards that. It's very conflicting. It's like almost like going through a breakup, even if you weren't that invested into it. Especially when it comes to something that's so close to your heart. I'm an artist as well, and just pouring your heart and soul into an idea or concept or a brand or a vision obviously extends beyond what you're actually producing in the individual art pieces. So I